Welcome to the thrilling world of Security Squawk, where we explore cybersecurity. Guiding you through online threats, we'll aid you in understanding safety protocols and trends. Meet our gurus, Bryan from Exact IT, Reginald from Arc Solvers, and Randy from Tech Rescue. Together, we'll delve into current events and hot cybersecurity topics, helping you comprehend their impact. Stay informed, stay secure. Security Squawk, the business of cybersecurity. Buckle up, let's dive in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Security Squawk podcast. I'm Bryan Hornung here with Reginald Andre and Randy. Bryan, what's up, guys? How are you today?
Doing good, man. The FIFA is over. Soccer games are over. How was it? It was hosted in your city, right, Bryan?
It was.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Didn't know any. I mean, around my area, but I didn't notice any traffic. Although there were signs plastered everywhere about this traffic coming.
Yeah.
I didn't notice any much more traffic. I'm sitting there going like, why are these signs on the road all over the place about World Cup traffic?
Mm-hmm.
Like we constantly have sporting events in Philly and New York, right? Like you got the Jets, you got the Giants, you got the Eagles, you got Phillies, Mets, Yankees. I mean, any given day there's 30, 40, 50,000 people driving to these stadiums almost on a daily basis. I mean, then you got concerts and everything else in between the sports. I mean, you can only fit so many people in this stadium, right? So there's not like 100,000 extra people coming to the games. It's the same amount of people. So I didn't get it. And I'm sitting here trying to figure it out. Like, why are these signs here rather than a backdoor way for our government to promote the World Cup?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can see. So, all right, guys, good show today. We got a lot to talk about. We got, I'm going to open up the show with AI. Somebody built an agent that hacked on its own. And I'm going to dive into that and what that means and who did what. Randy's, and I didn't know that this company was owned by Coca-Cola, and I think Mr. Buffett still owns Coca-Cola, but maybe I feel like I heard maybe he sold some of it, but that can't make him happy. Coca-Cola, who owns Fairlife, they had to shut down over a cyber attack, and Randy's going to talk to us about that today. Mr. Andre is going to close us out with a new ransomware numbers from a recent report that lines up with just about everything we say on this show from week to week. So let's start with the one that changes how you should think about your whole entire company, right, guys? Because here we are. We are now in the throes, I would say, of AI. And, you know, whether you're into AI or you're not, you can turn on the news and you can kind of hear what people are talking about, right? You go from, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, AI is replacing everybody's jobs to, AI is so expensive, we're bringing the employees back, right? So nobody knows where this is really going to end up. But at the end of the day, I can tell you that one thing is absolutely going to be true. Probably in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to be thinking about the workforce completely different. And that's going to be a combination of these AI agents that people don't think are going to actually come to fruition. I can tell you they are. It's just we're in a place where, and I'm going off topic a little bit, but Randy, I remember when mobile apps came out, right? And when mobile apps first came out, right, there was like the really big companies that had really awesome apps that worked really well. And then there was the people that tried to roll out apps for like everybody, like small, like I had people going around like every small business need an app. You need an app. It's, you can't be using, the web browser on a phone, which was true at the time, right? But phones, web browsers have improved significantly. You can get Chrome on your phone now where that wasn't possible when mobile apps first came out. So essentially mobile apps for businesses and for small businesses became like your website regurgitated into this app that was nothing more than just a website at the end of the day laid out differently. And everybody was kind of buying these things. And I got to have an app. I got to have an app, right? And that's kind of where we're at now, right? You have all these guys out there peddling some kind of AI, some kind of an AI agent, some kind of an AI, and they're just trying to take advantage of the hype, so to speak. And what I learned in that app process is, man, there was a whole lot of people peddling a whole bunch of crap. And maybe 1% of the people out there actually knew what they were doing, could build really good apps that help businesses, whatever, sell more, communicate with their customers better, run their social media platform better. So we're in that phase. We're in that phase where just the world's just been thrown up on with AI. And now the market kind of has to weed through who are the winners, who are the losers, who can actually do this stuff. Because guys, I see it. Like, we are doing it. Other companies are doing it. They are building AI agents, and these agents are doing things. They are, I wouldn't say that there's an AI agent out there that you could like plug in and it knows what to do from the start of the day to the end of the day. But you can take it really, you don't think of it like that. We're trying to take the human employee and we're trying to make that an agent. That's not what we do here, right? We take an agent that does a thing really well, right? So think of this like the production line system that manufacturing figured out almost 100 years ago, right? You're going to have specialized sections as that thing moves down the conveyor belt, right? And that you got to look at it like that. Like, so you're going to have an agent that's really good. You're trying to build a website, right? You're not going to have an agent and say, build me a website and know what to do from start to finish, right? You're going to say, like, get me somebody who can build me a website using code, right? HTML. And more than likely, that's not going to read well. It's not going to be a great website that reads well. It's going to look like a technical person wrote it, an engineer. So then you got to have a specialist come in who's got copywriting skills to take that thing. So then you pile on all these different skills with all these agents, and the end result is a website that you can be proud of and put in front of your company, put in front of your clients, however you want to look at it. But it's not going to be some half-baked 20% thing that only looks good from a technical standpoint, but from a selling or marketing or sales standpoint, it leaves a lot to be desired, right? So I just wanted to set the stage for that's the world we live in right now, right? And somebody decided, you know what, I'm going to take a piece of that and I'm going to build an AI agent that essentially goes through GitHub. And they got this thing out there, guys, called Hugging Face. And it's a GitHub of AI. That's what you can think of, right? It's a place companies, every company downloads its AI models and data from, right? So if you think about, like, I don't want to build an AI system, right, from scratch, you can go to these AI repositories that already have models built that you can start tapping into, right? Open source AI models, just like open source AI code. And this month, that group, Hugging Face, disclosed that an autonomous AI agent broke into their systems and ran the whole attack by itself, right? So this is a hacking agent, an AI agent that somebody built that said, hey, I want you to go into Hugging Face and I want you to get into their network and then steal all the data. And that's exactly what this thing did, right? So it got through on it got through a poison data set, stole credentials, and then it moved through their internal systems, racking up more than 17,000 actions over a single weekend before it was caught. Randy, I know that's going to make the hair on the back of your head stand up when some kind of AI hacking machine can go through open source AI models and change them. Mm-hmm. Like, that's like infinite possibilities on what could happen here. No?
Yes. Yeah. some things you got to do in 2026 in the age of AI when you're doing, because I think you were kind of alluding to, there's a lot of vibe coding going on out there, a lot of people making stuff using AI, and why this thing like with Hugging Face, which is an open source community, apparently they host a lot of open source libraries and things like that. Am I wrong?
That's right.
That you can use. So when you use these, you throw them in something that you vibe coded. And if you don't take special precautions, next time something on Hugging Face updates, it goes right into your program. And if that's hacked, that means now your program has some kind of backdoor into it or whatever. And what I'm advising people to do when you do that, all the libraries and stuff you use, you need to pin them. And that just basically means you don't update them automatically. You want to make sure that they're good before you go through deliberately and update those. But I've been reading about this and hearing about this. This is pretty brutal. And this stuff's going to happen. It's going to happen more and more because of AI and AI finding vulnerabilities.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I look at this and I'm like, the workload of a whole entire hacking group or crew has been now done by a piece of software at lightning fast speeds, like speeds that no human could touch. And this group, Hugging Face, they were so enthralled by what was going on their network, and they really, their heads were spinning. Guess what they did, guys? They turned to AI to figure out what happened. So they use mainstream AI like ChatGPT and things like that. Now, that's the other thing. If you don't understand, there's two worlds out there right now with AI. There's like the large language models that are provided publicly, Anthropic, ChatGPT, OpenAI. What are the other ones out there, guys? I don't know the Chinese ones off the top of my head. DeepSeek or whatever, right? So
yeah, DeepSeek and Kimi.
Yeah, then there's Grok, Gemini, right? These are all publicly available, built by big tech companies or built by big companies. You can build your own. And that's what this is for. This is for you if you want to build your own AI models, don't want to use the publicly ones available. Absolutely something you can build. And it appears that the hackers were using some sort of LLM that they created or they built on their own. And that would be interesting to know if they learned anything from the release of Fable and Mythos from, to build this, since that's been shut down and now they went and created their own, Randy. I don't know if that's a possibility here. But the whole workload of this thing was done by AI. And then Hugging Face came in and said, we're going to use ChatGPT or Anthropic to investigate what happened. And the tool refused to because the attack code tripped their safety filters. So in other words, it said, hey, can you investigate this for us, Mr. Anthropic or, Claude? And Claude was like, sure, I can. And then I went in there and said, well, no, I can't, because as I was reviewing the code, there's some code in there that I'm not allowed to look at or I'm not allowed to mess with. And that's where it had to put on the brakes and wasn't allowed to look any further. So we live in a world right now, guys, where these large language models that are publicly facing, the rules, they keep the good guys on the side of AI, quote unquote, safe, but they hamper your ability to figure out what went on, right? And if you build these models on your own and you're not, I guess, under the restrictions of like what Claude and these public companies put on you, you kind of run like these hackers do. They can do whatever they want. So it's a very interesting thing to see if we will ever have a shift, guys, in the future where companies just abandon these public models and decide that they're not really the way, and the private models and building your own private LLMs are the way. Any thoughts around that?
Well, I had a thought that, that would be so frustrating to know you're getting attacked by AI, but then you can't use your AI to figure out what's going on. You remember we talked about this over the last, I think it's been about a month since Fable, which is Anthropic's Mythos 5.0 was put out, and then they brought it back in. The government said they had to. And one of the things that I've noticed since they've rolled it back out, if you ask anything that's could even remotely be construed by your grandmother to be talking about hacking, like it stops it dead and it says, I can't do this. You got to do something else. So I can imagine the people at Hugging Face are extremely frustrated because they can't get Mythos, which would be probably astounding at fighting back, but they can't get it to work because it thinks that it's getting tricked into hacking. So that's a whole thing right there. And, you know, is this going to lead to where, you know, like we need to have open source versions on our own available to us, you know, to be able to fight back, you know, like the Kimi that just came out, it is Chinese, but it is open source as well. You can download it. Like, do you need to have a model of that? How do you know that's safe? This opens up so many cans of worms. And I know we don't want to go off onto a bunch of tangents, but bottom line, I would be so frustrated if I was over there at Hugging Face and couldn't use my Mythos subscription to fight back against the AI that was in there and hacking me.
All right, I want to bring Andre in. Andre, you've been quiet, so what's been stewing over there?
Yeah, no, I smiled when Randy was like, I could see like a group of people in a really crisis right now, and they're saying, well, it is Chinese, but let's try to use it. So really the difference right now is, you know, the terms of hackers is changing. It's no longer that one person sitting behind the keyboard with the hoodie, but now it's, you know, 500 AI agents, each with a different task, and they're basically now focused on attacking us, the good guys. So just things have changed, right? I even look at it as far as like penetration testers, where you could just have now these AI agents just go after just this one task, just to do this over and over and over, and it's going to be so good. So definitely what normally would cost, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars for these bad guys to do, they're now going to be able to do with a single sign-in.
It is. And then, you know, I just want to wrap up, you know, my segment here with just a thought I want to leave everybody with, because for years, the thing that limited attacks and limited a lot of things in business, like growth, things like that, was people, right? You need bodies. One person can't do it on their own. And, you know, as companies grow, you know, lean and mean can become a problem, you know, if you don't have the ability to fill out your workforce that you need to deliver your product or service. So you need bodies in business. And that's always been the thought process. And bodies cost money and don't scale. And AI, as we're starting to see evidence that an agent can really erase that limit. So the economy is shifting to agents plus employees. That's where we're at right now. Not 100% agents. Like, it's not going to be a light switch. And eventually, you know, we're going to get to a place where we call it normal once we figure out what jobs and what roles can be run by AI and what still need that human touch, right? And that's the phase we're going through right now. And attackers are already taking full advantage of this. So already staffing up with these AI agents. So you have to start thinking the same way about your business, your team, how you start to defend your company from these things, your technology, and also other parts of your business, like your marketing department, your sales department, your operations, service delivery. All that stuff is going to have agents involved in the future. And we all need to start thinking this way, guys. And it's really that hybrid model that people are talking about that's going to be the success, right? So while AI agents ran the hack, there was somebody behind this agent that built it, instructed it, told it what to do, and watched and managed it from a high level, right? So at the end of the day, yes, the agent did all the heavy lifting, but there was somebody who was the agent's manager watching what that thing was doing and making sure it was doing it right. So, any last thoughts there, guys?
No.
Cool. All right. So here we go. Randy, you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So Fairlife, Coca-Cola owns them, which I learned. I did not realize that. Fairlife is actually, if you're a fan of protein shakes, they have some of the best on the market, in my opinion, with their Core Power product. So if you've ever had a Core Power Elite, Core Power protein shake, that's made by Fairlife. That's a company we're going to talk about. They got hit. They do about $3 billion a year. No kidding what they charge for those cases of protein. This month, a ransomware attack reached its production systems. That can't be good, Randy. Tell us what happened.
Okay, so yeah, this caught my eye for the same reason, Brian. I mean, literally, if you open our fridge, we've got the protein drinks on one side, and we've got some of their milk right there in front of us when you open the fridge, man. So it caught my eye because of that. And they have gone over the last 12-ish years from a $10 million brand to a brand that's probably worth $7 billion, doing $3 to $4 billion a year in sales. So they've really built into a really gigantic brand, if you will, under the guidance of Coke or whatever that's been. I'm not sure, but they have grown substantially. And so they've suffered an attack. This is very, very recent. Another reason why it really jumped out to me, guys, is that they filed on July 16th, and they filed very close to when they found out. And, we've looked at some other hacks over the last few months. That credit agency, I can't remember the name, American something. I think they took 80 days or 4 months or something crazy like that. We've seen some other large hacks that have taken months and months to finally get disclosed. And here we have an organization that looks like last week they got hit. They say they're experiencing a technology disruption. Sounds like they did talk to their lawyers first about what they should say and what they should not say. We don't really have a lot of details on this right now. We don't know who's behind it. As of this morning, I did a deep research. I still can't find if there's anything on the dark web, which maybe there has been something that's come out, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't find out who is taking responsibility for it. But the third big reason that it stuck out to me, y'all, was they've got a brand new gigantic factory that they started building, I think, or maybe went online just in the last couple of years, like maybe 2024. This ransomware is not necessarily infecting the factory line. Most likely, and it could be, we'll find out as more comes out. Most likely, it's affecting the office that's running the factory line. And that to me is something that every company that's in manufacturing, it ought to shudder them to the core of who they are, is that the office part could get shut down, can completely stop production. They have stopped production. So that means that Fairlife that's on those two products in my fridge, we're going to run out sometime this week, and we're going to go up to HEB, our Texas store, and it ain't going to be there because they've stopped production. It's only in the US and not in Canada. So, okay, there's some segmentation there. I also wonder, is quickness to bring this to where you're letting the government know about it and you're announcing the breach. I wonder if that's going to be a new advantage going forward. Because I got to tell you, as a cybersecurity guy, I know y'all probably feel the same way, although I want to hear your thoughts on it as well in just a second. It does kind of make me feel a little better that they were so quick to report it. And it seems like they're trying to get out in front of it. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I don't have any details more than that. And it does raise some questions for me. The first one is fast disclosure, is that going to become an advantage? Is that something, because we've talked about everybody's going to get hit. It's not a if, it's a matter of when. And does fast disclosure, does that limit your liability? Is that going to help you be maintain favorable light in the eyes of your investors? They had segmentation, makes me think about a small business, which is what we deal with. Most businesses are in the 50 employee and under. Can you still have segmentation in a smaller business? You betcha. These things ought to get in, and they ought to have a blast radius. If they get in, they ought to have a blast radius that's limited. And then my final question, I'm gonna throw it to you on this one, y'all. Nobody has claimed it, which makes me wonder, what does the silence actually saying? Is it saying anything? I feel like Bryan has an answer to that one, but what does the silence here? Okay, we're 4 days into this at the minimum, probably 6 or 8. What does that silence say? Anyway, what are y'all's thoughts on this?
Well, 2 things for me. If I'm a CEO reading this story, I'm now thinking about my business, right? So what happens if my office goes down and I do ship products? Can I still ship products? How can we make it where even if it is paper and pen, we can still at least have the items on the production be able to go out, and then maybe we stop everything else from coming in? How much of a nightmare will that be? And how can we just make it as smooth as possible? Also, it sounds like incident response plan, is there. Obviously, Coca-Cola, billions of dollars, but we've learned in this show not to always assume. And, have you ever practice recovering from ransomware? So again, if I was a CEO, I would want to know, okay, if our production line did go down, or if our business went down, our main software that we're using went down, how are we able to operate on this? And then to answer your question, Randy, I think it's also different when a company, like I would imagine with Coca-Cola, they're not obviously selling to us, the consumer, directly. They go to your Publix or your, whatever supermarket HR, that you said. So obviously they could still have employee information. They could still have contracts that they have with their distributors and so forth like that. But maybe the PII information is not as much, where they have people's credit cards. So maybe, they were a little quicker to report this because the damage is not as bad, because they're like, well, now our contracts are out there, or whatever the case is, but it's not as bad as having, that PII information. Just my thoughts there.
Just want to make sure I wasn't muted before I started talking there. It's interesting, right? So as Randy pointed out, they filed the SEC within days, which they need to do. Good news from their part is they actually had their Canadian plants segmented. So their Canadian plants have not been impacted. So that may help them get some distribution in the United States where it doesn't impact things too much. I mean, guys, I just went to big box store the other day, and I walked by a case of Core Power Elite, and it was $47 for 24. So,
yep.
Or no, 12. Or no,
what is it normally?
24. 24. I mean, so you're talking almost $3 a drink. I mean, not the cheapest drinks out there. So I got to imagine they make some pretty good margin on these things. So, it is going to impact them. As we mentioned, $3 billion a year in a protein shake, and the products that they offer. So we'll see. It didn't steal emails; it shut down production, and that's the blast radius that Randy talks about. Like, this company's got to figure out how to get further along with their cyber resilience so that events like this don't happen, right? Production systems for manufacturers should not be ransomware able. And there's a lot of different ways you can skin that to make sure that doesn't happen. But the number one thing is internet access. Like, why do we have these things connected to the internet like we do? And if we do, you better have to like go through the matrix type laser field to, get in there. And a lot of alarms better go off if somebody's trying to get in, or we're going back to zero trust, Randy. If I'm running an OT system and I need my system to run, meaning I need my manufacturing system, the technology behind it to run so I can produce my product and sell it, I'm going to have zero trust all over that thing all day long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like, that's how you stop these types of things. So, all right, Mr. Andre, you're up, my friend. And we've seen an AI attack. We've seen a household brand knocked offline. And now we got some statistics, especially around ransomware. And the numbers are going to tell you exactly where you need to put your next dollar. So, Andre, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so this is Sophos, which is a security software. They interviewed 2,100 different IT and cybersecurity leaders across 17 countries. And like you said, it's some interesting data. So the first one that I want to talk about is 56% of ransomware attacks resulted in encrypted data. The average recovery costs reach about $1.7 million. And then 97% of organizations affected credential theft had MFA enabled somewhere. And I kind of stopped there with the 97% MFA because I was like, wait, but if you got 97% of these companies already have MFA, that kind of doesn't make sense that, all of these attacks are answered. And then as we're reading in the article more, it basically elaborated how some of the systems had MFA. So maybe Microsoft 365, that was protected with MFA, but the VPN wasn't. Or maybe, employee MFA account had it, but then the firewall, as we're learning with Fortinet, for example, if MFA is not enabled there, then there could be some problems. Also, another thing is they compared the statistics from last year, and they found that last year the biggest issue was unpatched computers, unpatched servers, and just keeping things up to date. And now they're finding that the attackers would rather steal credentials than hack the firewall because it's faster. So we're seeing that basically they're being, as we call it, they're being let in. They're saying, well, if we can just get the username, get the password, then from there we can go ahead and just create the havoc. We don't need necessarily to even worry about MFA or try to worry about unpatched servers. Let's just try to trick the user into giving us their credentials. And typically those credentials are then not set up properly, where they may have, that employee or that user may have over access, and then that's where damage is done. So that's kind of some of the highlights that I saw in this article that I wanted to share.
That was awesome. You just basically laid out what happened in my topic, right? AI just took advantage of credentials that it found, that it knew were, now they're compromised when AI finds it, but no protection on that login, right? All they had to do was have a username and password, and then no second factor to make sure that that was really that person. It's critical. And we run into this constantly, Andre, with businesses that we talk to, and we see their cyber insurance application, or we see their compliance report, and it's like, oh yeah, we have MFA on all of our systems that are important, and then they have it on like their email and like a couple other things, and it's like, oh, what about that over there? Is that important? Well, yeah, and it's like, yeah, you use your email every day, but there may be systems that you only touch a couple times a month, or maybe a couple times a quarter, right? But what's on the other side of that? And you better make sure that you have 2FA on that. And that's kind of what we're seeing out there. We're seeing like companies get it when it comes to things like email, certain systems that have data like financial systems, maybe your CRM, you're protecting that depending on what's in it. Yeah, it's hit or miss with a lot of companies from what we see. But it ends there. And there's probably a dozen or more other applications that websites, other things that your company probably uses and stores things in. You get the companies, oh, no, we only use like 3-4 things. Inevitably, you figure out that they don't use 3-4 things, right? And they all try to say that they limit or they have a limited number of things, but it's like people tend to think of like what I currently am working in or what I usually work in a daily or weekly basis. They don't think about those systems that you log in every once in a while, right? Tax systems, right? Where you're doing taxes or, things like that. I'm just thinking about things that happen periodically in a business that don't happen all year round. They only happen like once or twice a year. These are the systems I'm talking about. So don't know if any other systems come to mind with you guys, but that's kind of how I thought about it when I heard you talking, Andre. Is like, wow, it's like, yeah, you only need the credentials because 97% of credential-based victims have MFA turned on somewhere, but just not everywhere or the places that they need it, right? So that's very interesting that companies, 97% of them have MFA turned on, but they're still getting attacked using a username and password.
And that's exactly what the insurance company wants to see you check mark as well.
The math ain't mathin', Andre.
Yep. You check mark that on your insurance application, and when you get that breach, they go back to that application and say, hey, you weren't doing it.
Yep, that's gross negligence, right?
Gross.
Yeah, well, and that's a harder one for people to understand sometimes, but it's kind of like if you went out to a bar and drank too much and then went and drove your car and smashed into a tree. You wouldn't be surprised then if the insurance company gave you crap about having to pay for it, because that's what they would consider gross negligence. And, without MFA, like Andre just said, without MFA, you may not get your cybersecurity insurance premium, not premium, but your payout. If you had a ransomware, you may not get it paid if they go in and look, well, you didn't have MFA turned on anywhere. That's gross negligence. So.
Yes, sir. So one of the other things I saw, oh, wow, what happened there? One of the other things I saw, guys, wow, this is doing great. In your statistics there, Andre, when you shared them with us, was 2/3 of the victims, this is actually good news, 2/3 of the victims recovered from backups instead of paying the ransom. That is a tide change, I will say. What does that tell us? It tells us that companies are doing their backups, which is good, but it also probably means somebody's doing a little bit of a test restore somewhere along the way, because in the past, and why I say it's a tide change is because in the past, companies said we have backups. Now maybe the backup software is getting better and there's less failures and stuff like that. I don't know. But I would make sure I have a test restore plan and somebody responsible for that at my company. Because that's how you know whether or not that data is going to come back if you have a bad day, right? And it doesn't have to be a cyber attack. So I'll just leave you with this. When's the last time your company did a test restore of its backups? If you can't answer it, call whoever's in charge of that and ask them to do it for you and give you a report on what happened.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts there, guys, before we wrap it up? Ready to go?
All good, man.
Cool. All right. So appreciate everyone joining us for today's episode of the Security Squawk. The thread running through all of these themes that we talked about today is no matter who's running your systems, whether it's AI or humans, these attacks you need to definitely pay attention to, right? You got factories getting locked out, companies, thousands of them being surveyed, telling you what's going on out there. And every week we bring it to you on this show so you understand that the game of cybersecurity and protecting your data has moved from breaking in to scaling up, right? So they are getting better with AI, and they are doing things in a way that is going to make it harder. So these things that we've been talking about, MFA, making sure your backups are good, having somebody do those test restores, these are the things that are working right now in today's day and age to get you out, get your get out of jail free card. Those things right there. If you're doing them, the hackers right now are en masse playing the game, knowing that companies are not doing a good job of testing their backups. So they're, even though you think you're doing them, they're still hitting you with the thought they're not going to have backups. So we're going to, or they're not going to have good backups. So we're going to, you know, still hit them with the ransom, right? So just think about that. Make sure, because if you have those test restores, that's the big FU to the hackers. Like, we don't need to pay you. We're good over here. And that's what hackers don't want to hear. But right now, the data tells them they're not doing this, so keep going, right? And that's what we have to do. So what this means for the cyber criminals, guys, is the cost of attacking your business has significantly dropped, and the value of defending this stuff and doing things like test restores has just gone up significantly. So if you enjoyed this episode, we ask you to head over to securitysquawk.com, check out all our episodes, check out what we have going on our website. Leave us a review wherever you're consuming us. Thanks to Randy and Andre, who ducked out early. We'll see everyone next week. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye, everybody.